Good evening, everyone, and I welcome you to this class. So quickly, without taking much of our time, the topic we're going to be treating today is Unleash Your Potential with Ikigai, a journey to leadership in supply chain. My name is Aloba Comfort, and tonight our speaker is Mrs. Izin Akioya. I don't know if I got the pronunciation correctly. Mrs. Izin Akioya is the founder, Voice Incorporation, and she's a co-founder of Supply Chain Africa. So she'll be taking us through the class. And I trust that we have our writing materials with us so that we can jot and ask as many questions as we have. Kindly drop your questions. If you have any questions while she's talking, just drop them in the chat box and she will respond to them after the class. Thank you. So Mrs. Izin, Ma, can we have you? You have the floor now. Hello, Ma. Mrs. Akioya.
Hi, everyone. Just give me a sec. I'm trying to get my vanity properly done before I show up on camera. So okay. Give me 1 second to get my stage properly set.
All right, ma. All right, ma. Thank you, ma.
Hello.
Good evening, ma.
Hello, everyone. So I've tried to get myself on video. Okay, fantastic. Just wanted to be sure that at least you could eyeball the person who's going to share knowledge with you today. My name is Izin Akioya. It's great to be on the call today. It's a great opportunity to join you all. So just to set the context for what we're about to do, can I just say that, you know, an Ikigai class is really a very experiential class, and that if you don't have any writing material, notepads, markers, things like that, you won't get the best of this experience. So maybe you want to take a minute or two and actually look for something that you can scribble on. The bigger the material that you find to work with, the better. And you'll see why that is in a few minutes as we go into the session. Thank you to Aliyu, thank you Comfort and everybody who's put this class together. I had started running Ikigai masterclasses a bit more publicly this year. I consider the Ikigai model to be a model for life, a very useful model for life. So I'm very excited at the opportunity to share this with you. Just in terms of initial housekeeping and ground rules to make this a session that you take great value from. I do not run this session as a session where I'm just talking to you or talking at you. I really hope for sessions like this to be as interactive as possible. So as we go through the Ikigai model, please feel free to, you know, signal when you want to react, when you want to make a comment, when you want to chat at me directly, when you want to say something or re-clarify something. Feel free to butt in. This is not one of those sessions where you wait till the end of the session before you express something or clarify something. This is one of those sessions that we need to sort of make as interactive as possible. So having said that, I will just quickly share Comfort, do you mind giving me access to share? I'd like to share the Ikigai framework and have it on the screen for the rest of the period where we interact. It's going to make it super easy for everyone to build out an Ikigai model. And while that's ongoing, I will just say to get the class started off, that I want you to spend the next 1 hour of this class determining, believing that it is possible to, in 1 hour, actually define your life purpose, clarify your life purpose using the Ikigai model, and have the building blocks for what you go forward with in terms of life purpose building and building a life of impact going forward from that. And so while Comfort, I'm hoping that Comfort can hear me. Can I just, if you all will just indicate a few of the participants, I can see there are about 10 participants.
Yes,
If you
ma'am,
just indicate that you can hear me,
Yes,
fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So Comfort, if you just give me.
Yes, I've given you the access.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
So I will just share quickly. I have just shared a snapshot of the Ikigai model on my screen. So we'll just go right into the session. Ikigai, in a very, very simple way, is described as a reason for being, right? It basically is a Japanese model, right? That helps to situate who you are in the context of this world. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with teachings around life purpose. I'm sure a lot of us have, come across literature, questions, conversations around, what we're put to do here, why we're here, and how we get to design out and fulfill the things that we're here to do. But as we all journey through life, we find that life doesn't always give us what we want. Life also doesn't simply show up for us in the directions that we think life should show up for us, right? But also we find that as we go through life, we start to realize that there are many things that we want to do. And the question then becomes, of all of the things that we want to do, which of them is purpose, right? Which one of them does one rank the highest above everything else that one is interested in? But also another conflict that as human beings that we always face and we continue to face, I think, till time immemorial, is the conflict of what we want to do as individuals and what we perceive that the world wants us to do, okay? And the world in some scenarios is family. The world in some scenarios is family. There's going to be a bit of interruption and noise in my background. If it gets overpowering, again, please indicate, and I'll try as much as possible to continue to control the noise in my background. So going back to Ikigai model, I was saying that we find that there's always, often in life, as we go through life, beyond the fact that, number one, we have multiple things that we want to do, and sometimes it then becomes a struggle to determine which one of them is really my purpose, right? Which one of them is the thing that I should lead my life with and move forward with. Another conflict that we sometimes face as young people starting out our careers, or even in midlife as we build through life, is that even when we have come to a sense of what we would like to do and who we would like to be from an identity perspective, we also find that we live in a world that can be quite punishing, quite unforgiving, and quite demanding. And that sometimes the people in our lives, the people in our cultures, want to place purposes on us that are not really truly who we are. I'm sure that if you take a poll of the about 10 people or so in this conversation today, there'll be at least one or two people who possibly went to university to study a course that they were not really interested in, but they felt obligated to study, perhaps because somebody in their life, a parent, a sister, an uncle, insisted that that was the right direction to go, right? So there are too many biases in the world that we live in. There are education biases, there are purpose biases, there are sexuality biases, who you should be as a woman versus who you should be as a man, what you must do with your time, right? You also have things like age biases, where people kind of tell you who you should be at a particular age in your life. At 20, oh, this is where you should be now. At 20, at 25, this is where you should be. Or at 30, this is what you should have attained in your career, right? So life always, that conflict of life never really changes. That conflict goes everywhere with us. It goes everywhere with us in our personal lives. It also goes everywhere with us in our work life and in our spiritual lives. And so it's very, very important in order to have some semblance of peace, some semblance of growth, some semblance of stability in our lives. It's very, very important that we take the concern of purpose very, very seriously. It's very, very important that we're in tune with the sense of who we are, right? Because that's your anchor. In a life where things don't always go according to plans, in a life where multiple different people in your life have different expectations of you and different demands of you, and will sometimes try to shape you into the narrative of what they think is best, it's important to always have something that you go back to that becomes your anchor for who you are and kind of hinges you and tells you, this is why I'm on earth. This is why I do what I do. I know myself well enough, right? Such that when influence, this multiple mediums of influence come at you, you have a defense, right? You have a safety net, something that holds you and anchors you. And having set that context, I'd like to just go straight into the Ikigai model. Now, if you joined after I said this, it's very important that you have a notepad and a pen, and that you actually go through the Ikigai model with me practically, meaning that don't take this session as a session where you simply listen to me and then you go away and try to do based on what you have heard from me. What I'd really like for you to do instead is to have a notepad, a series of sheets of paper or notepads, a pen, a marker, and actually practically go through the Ikigai flow chart with me, answering the question prompts that I put forward, such that by the end of this 45 minute more session, you actually have a framework that you can go away and build away from. Now, having said that, what is the Ikigai? In simple terms, Ikigai simply means your reason for being, okay? If you've read a bit of Japanese history, if you read any articles or literature that had to do with people living long, different parts of the world where people live the longest, you may have come across the Ikigai model, right? The Ikigai model is a model that is practiced by different communities in Japan. And those communities in Japan were found to be the communities that had the longest living people in the world. And so some American scientists started researching just to understand, why do these people live the longest? You know, what are the principles that they live by? What are the things that make them so special? And he very quickly found that it wasn't because these people had the most money in the world. It's not because they had the most quality of life in the world. What it was that they had a number of principles that they lived their lives by. And because of those principles, right, they were more anchored to their humanity. And that was one of the reasons why they had the longest living people in the world. The Ikigai basically says that you should have a purpose in life, right? And that people, essentially what you draw from that is that people who have a purpose, a reason for being, right, live the longer, right, and live the most fulfilled lives. And it's a very interesting ideology because it basically says that if you have a combination of passions, missions, professions, and vocation that come together in harmony, you have the tendency to live a fulfilled life. Essentially, that's what the Ikigai model is. When you do your research about the Ikigai model, you will find that there are two schools of thoughts around the Ikigai model. The first school of thought around the Ikigai model is a school of thoughts that basically says you can live a fulfilled life, or your fulfillment in life is not necessarily tied to monetary gain. This is sort of the traditional Japanese model for the Ikigai. And the more popular model of the Ikigai today, which is sort of an American model of Ikigai, sort of brings money into the Ikigai model and basically says that if you understand your passions, understand your mission, understand your profession and vocation, right? With money in perspective, you can find your reason for being. So I think I've spent about 15 minutes just doing preliminaries in order to prepare those who needed to get their notepads, get their pens and things like that, and get settled for the session. So now we're just going to go straight into Ikigai. The way that the Ikigai model works is that it gives you certain question prompts to answer about yourself. And as you answer those questions one after the other, at the end of those question prompts, a picture of who you are, a picture of your purpose in life evolves from the answers that you have given to those questions. So in the next 30 minutes, I'd like you to minimize every distraction. And I'd like you to just key into the question prompts that I give you. What I'd like is, as you answer these questions, don't overthink them. Answer these questions as vulnerably as you can. I'm not going to see your answers. So answer them as vulnerably and as honestly as you can. The first 5 question prompts start with the question, what do you love? Okay. So I want you to, on the first sheet of paper in your notepad or wherever it is that you're scribbling, I want you to list on a couple of lines, the things that you love, right? And when I say things that you love, don't limit yourself to just your career. Things that you love, the serious things, the unserious things, the things that you find no use for, the things that you find useful in your life today. If you just quickly list 5 things that you love, the top 5 things that you love. So examples for me, right? I love public speaking. I love words. I always say that I'm in a romance with words. And the more dramatic, the more verbose, the more interesting sounding a word is, the more I love it. So I love words. So it's one of the things I love. It's also one of the tools of my expression. So I love words, so I speak words. I love words, so I write words, right? So I love writing, I love speaking. I love the arts, I love color and flavor and combinations. And my expression for that is fashion, right? I'm always thinking about what to wear. My clothes are never enough. I'm always thinking about something new to add into my wardrobe, right? So I love clothes, I love fashion, I love music, but also I'm somebody who likes to solve problems. So on the one hand, I've spoken to the things that I love that speak to the creative side of my personality. But on the other side of my personality, right, I love to make change happen, okay? I love to solve problems. I'm one of those people who doesn't run away when I'm confronted with issues. I like to solve problems. I like to move things forward. I love growth, right? I love the idea of being in the same space, being in the same scenarios all of the time. I like growth, but I'm also a very curious person. I like diversity. So I like change. I don't like to do the same thing for prolonged periods of time. So I like variety, I like change, I like things like that. I love yoga. I love going to the spa, right? I love spending time in places that give me harmony, in places that give me zen, in places that help me to relax. Relaxation for me is enjoyment, right? So enjoyment means different things to different people. For me, relaxation is a very big part of enjoyment. So I want you to be able to think about yourself in multiple dimensions like that. What do I love? What do I love from a part of me that is decadent? But what do I love from my intellect? What does my intellect love, right? Certain people's intellects love numbers. They like to crunch numbers. They're very numerical. They're very mathematical, okay? Certain people like that might possibly love the challenge of playing chess, right? Some people like to exercise. Some people are competitive, so they like to be in competitive sports. This is your opportunity to just unleash on that piece of paper. What do I love? What do I love? I love making money, right? I get certain gratification from being in a position of wealth, a position of power that being financially free gives to me, right? So I love setting things up, creating businesses that make money. I love to sell, right? I love to put value in front of people and exchange that value for myself. So I'm assuming that we've tackled that question. We've given it some time. The next question, if you move clockwise on the screen with me, skip mission and go straight to what the world needs. No, actually, I'd like you to move anti-clockwise, because what I did was I had asked the second question before the first. So the first question that you're supposed to answer is the question of what you're good at. And that's on the magenta extreme left of the chat on the screen. What am I good at? Now, a simple way to think about what you're good at is, what are my crafts? What knowledge do I have, right? And this is stuff, this is a combination of stuff that you're good at because these are your innate capabilities, meaning that you didn't have to learn them, but also capabilities that you had to learn and you have become good at them, okay? So an innate capability could be something as simple as, I'm good at organizing. I'm good at cleaning up my environment and putting things in place, okay? I'm good at planning. In my family, people rely on me to plan for the family, right? Those are things that could be innate for you. Because I'm very interested in fashion, one of the things that's an innate for me, right, is that I see how to put garments together. So I'm very good at styling. And that's not something that I had to learn per se. So I'm defer to you or ask advice on. You're good at those things. Put them there. Then also in the bucket of things that you're good at, then think about the things that you had to pay to take a certification to become good at. Okay? That by virtue of your work experience, you have become. Those are the things you also want to put on this sheet of paper where you're answering the question, what am I good at? What are you good at, right? If you are mathematical, for example, and you're in a job where you're working in data analytics or data science, and you believe that that is a core area of professional strength for you, then you're good at it. Somebody have a question?
Your potential. Unleashing your potential.
I'd like for you to indicate in the chat at this point if anybody is struggling to answer any of their questions or if we're doing okay as we answer the questions. If somebody would just indicate in the chat, in the comments, and just let me know how you're feeling, how you're going so far. So I will wait to get your feedback that you have completed question 2 and question 1 before I go to question 3. Hello, is anybody chatting? Fantastic. So Comfort has done that. Aliu has done that. DOE, thank you. I can see your comments. I'd like to get a couple more comments before we move forward to question 3. Fantastic, guys. Okay. So since we have about half of the class almost done, EA Harry, I can see you saying you're just looking at it. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. If you can come up with 5, 6, 7, 8, you can do it in bullet points. You can do it in phrases. What am I good at? What do I love? 2 different sheets of paper as much as possible, or at least in a table where you have different columns. so you don't mix up your responses. And remember to also, title this as you respond, right? I'm good at this, I love this, right? I'm good at this, I love this. So let's go to question 3. So now we're moving back clockwise. So we're going to the extreme right, the green part of the chart. And so the question you want to answer there is what the world needs. I want you to take a pause when you're thinking about this question and go back to your answers to question 1 and question 2. And then answer question 3 with respect to question 1 and 2, meaning what does the world need in relation to what I love, and what does the world need in relation to what I'm good at? Now, this is a question that can be a bit confusing. The world needs many, many things, right? We're not trying to create a list of all the things that the world needs today. No, if we start to do that, we won't be out of here in the next 2 hours. But there is something that the world needs from what you love, as well as from what you're good at. If you have 5 things that you love, it's more than likely that the world needs at least one of them. If you have 5 things that you're good at, it's more than likely that the world needs at least one of those things that you're good at. So in your third column on your third sheet of paper, what you are listing are the things that you believe that the world needs that are either in your list 1 or in your list 2, as the case may be. If anybody still doesn't understand, please say something in the chat room and I'll respond. How are we doing, everyone? I can see somebody who's fantastic. Are we making progress? Now, when you look at question 2, I'm going to take you a step back to question 2. Another way to think about question 2 is to ask yourself, what am I jealous about? What do I see somebody doing that I'm jealous about? Sometimes one of the ways to know what you love is to look at the things that get you jealous, okay? So you see somebody doing something in a certain way and you feel something. You feel a twinge of envy, a twinge of, oh, this could be me. This is something that I could have. Sometimes the things that you're jealous about are indicated. That's your emotion sometimes telling you that this is something that's important to you. And because you don't have it, you feel a certain way about it, okay? Just wanted to share that light for anybody who may have struggled to answer the question of what you love, right? One of the ways that you know what you love is because these are the things that excite you. But one of the ways to also know what you love is when you encounter something and it makes you sad. It makes you sad, and it doesn't make you sad because you hate it. It makes you sad because you don't feel like it's accessible to you, it's within reach to you. Okay? Okay, fantastic. We're moving at good speed. Thank you to everybody who's indicated that they're done with question 3. Let's move to question 4 now. Question 4 then says, the chat, right? It's at the extreme bottom of the chat, what you can be paid for. So in the final column, column 4, not your final column actually, but at least for the first 4 question prompts, that's the last of the first 4 question prompts. What can you be paid for? Again, you're not trying to simply look at the whole world and say, what can I be paid for? No. You're going back to what you love, and what you're good at. And then you're now coming up with things in this two that can also generate money, right? So you're going back to question one, you're going back to question two, and you're now saying to yourself, I love fashion. Can I be paid for fashion? I love styling. Can I be paid for styling? I love sleeping. Will somebody pay me to sleep? I love hairdressing. Will somebody pay me to hairdress? I love solving problems. Will somebody pay me to solve problems? Okay, so now you're basically matching what you love and what you're good at to money, if that makes sense. Fantastic, everyone. Thank you. I can see your comments indicating that you're done. What can I be paid for? Can I be paid for my numerical skills? Can I be paid for my artistic skills? Can I be paid for my writing skills? Can I be paid for my public speaking skills? I studied accounting. Can I be paid for my accounting skills? I studied business administration and analysis. Can I be paid for that, right? What can I be paid for in the world today? When I look at what I love and I look at what I'm good at, which of these commands some sort of remuneration in the world today? That's what you put in there. I'd like you to indicate. I'd like you to indicate if you're done with question 4. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. I can see those comments. Thank you so much, everyone. So we've done the foundational work of the Ikigai model. We've answered these critical 4 questions. Before we move forward with the last set of questions, I'd like to share my personal Ikigai journey with you. Because I'm a creative, I've never liked just one thing in my life. I've always liked several things at the same time. So I've always had a conflict of trying to do too many things at once. And I'm sure that if you have 18 people in a group, there are at least a quarter of them that are creatives like me, who want to do many things, who want to do several things, who are never tired of ideas. The Ikigai model is a tool that you cannot stay away from if you're that type of person. Because what that means is that your strength, which is your ability to create and come up with new things, is also your greatest weakness. And so you're going to have to harness yourself, harness your creativity, and know how to stay on the track of the things that are most important and most critical, especially based on the seasons of life that you're in. I do not have one Ikigai model. That's one other thing to keep in mind about this model. This is not a one-off exercise. This is not like writing your goals for the year in January of the year and never revisiting it till the end of the year. If you treat your Ikigai model like that, you will never find real use for it in your life. And it will never become a growth tool for you. You need to treat your Ikigai model like a brother that you speak to every other week. Since I started using the Ikigai model 4 or 5 years ago, I have developed multiple versions of my Ikigai model. The Ikigai model helps you to paint a picture of your future, right? But it doesn't help you to paint the picture of your future for the rest of your life at once. Therefore, it is a work in progress tool that shows you what you must do in the immediate short term of your life. And the idea is that if you have completed what you were meant to do in that immediate short term of your life, it will then begin to show you what you need to do for the next window of your life, and the next window of your life, and the next window of your life. So the Ikigai is a work in progress tool. If anybody has spent some time reading about what it means to have a growth mindset, right? What it means to be a lifelong learner. These concepts simply mean that you don't set an agenda at once and expect that that is the agenda that you're going to run with for the rest of your life. Your agenda is going to keep changing. It's going to keep growing. It's going to keep moving. So I have, in a year, sometimes I've revamped my Ikigai model every month in a year, because the things that you spend time looking at are the things that become more clear to you. So if you're not looking at your life model, Ikigai, we said Ikigai is a purpose model. If you are not spending time looking at your purpose model every other week, every other month, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? What are you spending time looking at? Okay. So the idea is that the Ikigai that you have this year, you are aiming to make it obsolete. You're taking actions to make that Ikigai obsolete so that you can redefine that Ikigai model for the next set of goals, for the next growth, for the next stretch that you want to see happen in your life. This is something to pay keen attention to. Stick with your Ikigai modeling. Spend time studying about the Ikigai model after this masterclass and keep using it as a life planning tool. The moment I started using the Ikigai model, I stopped writing New Year goals. I stopped creating New Year plans. And the reason is pretty simple. Because I work with my Ikigai month in and month out and month in and month out, I don't get to December without clarity of what I want to do in January of the next year. I already know what I want to do in the January of the next year. So even when I go into, I'm a Christian, so I'm going to make a Christian reference here. Even when I go into church at crossover service to pray about my goals for the new year, I didn't just generate those goals in January. Those were things I was carrying with me throughout the year, right? And so when it's time to set the goals for the new year, I'm just revisiting my Ikigai. I'm just looking at it and I'm just saying, what fell through this year? What couldn't get done this year? What do I need to continue doing into the new year? And that becomes the life goal that I go forward with. So just to ensure that we understand that this is a tool that you keep working with, you keep unboxing, you keep on layering. And I'll tell you this, right? I have written job titles in my Ikigai model that when I wrote them because I truly just simply followed the principle of the Ikigai model. And I have seen those jobs show up in my life. A good example of that is the Ikigai model I wrote 2-3 years before I got any inkling that I was going to become an editor-in-chief. I had done the Ikigai model. One of the things that had come out of my Ikigai model was that I wanted to change the world. I wanted to make an impact in the world. That's one of the things that I loved. One of the things that had come out of my Ikigai model, right? So when I took that Ikigai model, I started asking myself, what are the kind of jobs that somebody with things I love would be good at? And I went online and I started looking at what kind of jobs match the things that I love. What kind of jobs match the things that I'm good at? And I saw that editor was one of those. And I wrote editor in I didn't even write editor in supply chains. At that time, I had not even done anything in supply chains in my career. I simply wrote editor in a development, impact-making type of organization as one of the potential job titles that I could grow into in the future. 2 years after that, I got an opportunity to become an editor-in-chief at Supply Chain Africa. Essentially, so your Ikigai model is a really powerful tool if you allow it to be a powerful tool in your life. We're going to go through the next set of question prompts. And essentially, these are your combination questions. So the first 4 questions that we answered were exploratory questions where you got to tell yourself about yourself. Now you're going to combine yourself with yourself. It sounds very interesting. But I'd like you to now prepare to have either 5 columns on a table or 5 different sheets of paper as we begin to combine some of these interesting question points. So the first column that you should have now, or paper that you have now, you can title it passion. Based on the Ikigai model, your life's passion, right? Things that excite you the most in life and will always keep you satisfied and happy, right, are the things that combine what you love with what you're good at. So if you look at the extreme left of the Ikigai chart, you see that the connection points between what you're good at and what you love is your passion. So if you go back to what you're good at and what you love, you should find one or two words or phrases that are saying exactly the same thing, meaning that I'm good at it and I also love it. Put that in your passion column. So at this point, you're not thinking about new answers. You're looking at the answers that you already have jotted, and then you're pulling out the commonalities there. So say, for example, I love writing and I'm good at writing. So which means that my answers to what you're good at have writing there, and my answers to what you love have writing there. So which means writing is one of my passions. So I'm going to throw writing into that column. Anybody has any questions? Has it gotten confusing? Are we progressing? Does anybody who did not find any commonalities between what they love and what they're good at, please indicate in the chat box. If you did not find anything that you're good at and you also love. So I'm going to assume that everybody's fine. Is that okay to assume? Yes, so not everything. I see a comment there. I have some things that I'm good at, but I don't love, okay? So what I don't expect that, so how do I say this? I don't expect that you love everything that you're good at. And I don't expect that everything you love, you're also good at, okay? You can love acting, but you know that you're not a good actor. But you love the idea. When you see actors, you know that you love this thing, okay? But you know you're not good at it. You don't have any training to be a good actor. That's fine. However, I need you to simply look at those two lists and see where you have one or two commonalities. And then put that in your passion space. Can we move on? Suddenly, I'm not getting as many comments as I got. Has it become... Okay, fantastic. I can see a couple of people saying they're done. I can see comments where people have also said it took them time to love their professions. I think that's just a testament to growth. I always say that sometimes we think we love something and sometimes we think we dislike something, but that's because we're looking at it from afar. The moment you then begin to fully immerse and interrogate and engage with something, you find out that you were working with a lot of presumptions and assumptions before. And that's happened in my life as well, where my career in sales, for example, I didn't like sales. I loved words, I loved public speaking, but I did not think that I had to use that in the world of sales. Now today I introduce myself as a saleswoman. I think there are certain things that as you begin to build capacity for, your love for them begins to expand. Because one of the things that is a limitation to us in life is the things that we fear, okay? When you're afraid of something, you cannot love it. When you then build mastery for something, then you may begin to love it. And that's life for you. And that's why it's so important to be a doer. It's so important to not just be a person who has some interesting ideas playing out in your head. It's important to run with things, to try things out, because as you push, you reveal yourself to yourself, right? Suddenly you realize that what you thought you hated, you didn't hate it. You were simply afraid of it. And the moment you overcame that fear, the moment you overcame that lack of knowledge about that thing, you suddenly began to love it. So it was never hate before. It was simply a lack of capacity that you were struggling with. So that's how I'm going to respond to those comments. Now, if you go on the other side, on the right, you have the mission bit of the chart. And basically, your mission is a combination of what you love and what the world needs. Okay? Essentially, on the extreme right, you see a comment on the extreme right hand of the chart. And it explains your mission in a very interesting way, because it tells you that the world can need your mission. You can love your mission, but it's not every mission that you have in life that is a pathway to wealth. Do you understand me? And it's very important for young people in the world that we live in today, who are trying to live for their purpose, to understand that not every purpose is connected to wealth. Okay? And that you must necessarily then ask yourself the question, I love this thing, I believe the world needs it, but there's no connection to wealth as far as the world is concerned today with this thing that I love. What do I do? It's a necessary question to ask. Because if you do not situate the things that you do with your time in life, you may find that you're spending more time doing the things that are irrelevant for the season of life that you're in. Not every mission can build wealth, but that doesn't mean that you throw your missions away. Same goes for passions, right? Passions will give you deep satisfaction, right? Deep satisfaction. But if your passions are not recognized, if your passions are not remunerated, then you have to ask yourself, am I sure I want to stay in the place of passion for the rest of my life? Or do I want to stay in the place of passion only for the rest of my life? These are things to think about. But essentially, in your mission column, what I expect you to have done with your mission column is exactly what you did when you were creating your passion column. You look at what you love, what's showing up under your what you love list, what's showing up under the what the world needs list, anything that's showing up there that's common. So say, for example, you love charitable works, right? You love to do things for the less privileged. The world needs volunteers. The world needs kind people. The world needs donors, right? Who give to the less privileged in life, okay? So that will, for example, be something that will fall into your mission, right? You love it and the world needs it. However, you may also find that there's something that you're good at, you love, and the world also needs, if that makes sense, right? But you're not gonna put that in your mission column just yet. All you're putting in your mission column right now is, I love it, and I believe that the world needs it, okay? I love it, and the world needs it. Whether the world can pay you for it doesn't matter just yet, right? I love it and the world needs it. So it's part of my mission, okay? Do we have any questions, any confusions? I'm going to assume that we understand. I'm going to move very quickly to the next one. Okay, I'll just respond to that chat very quickly. Okay, we're moving on, we're making progress. We're making progress. Now, if you just continue clockwise like that, you will find on the right side, on the bottom right side, you have the intersection between what the world needs and what you can be paid for. And that's your vocation, okay? That's your vocation. The world needs it, you can be paid for it, okay? So look at the answers you have to what the world needs. Look at the answers you have to what can the world be paid, what can the world pay me for, right? Is there anything that's common? Now, don't force it. If you don't find anything that combines what the world needs with what you can be paid for, simply move on. One thing you just need to know about vocations is that vocations will give you excitement, right? But a sense of uncertainty. Now, moving on quickly, the second to the last question prompt, it's on the bottom left. The bottom left is the intersection between what you're good at and what you can be paid for. And this is a very interesting intersection because this is the zone of your profession. You are good at it and the world can pay you for it, right? The only caveat to professions is that professions give you the comfort that you need because they give you the financial remuneration, right? To pay your bills and to live a good life. But sometimes a profession that you're not passionate about can also make you feel empty. Can also make you feel like the only reason I'm at this job is just because they are paying my salary. I'm good at this thing, so I'm going to use it to get money. I don't like it, but I just have to do what I have to do since I'm already good at it, okay? That would be a classic profession. So simply look at your answers to question 1, your answers to question 4. Question 1 was, what are you good at? Question 4 was, what can you be paid for? In the context of the way we went through the chat. So is there anything there? Are there any commonalities between what you're good at and what you can be paid for? And you have to also be honest with yourself. When somebody says, are you good at something? Are you bluffing or are you truly good at that thing? Right? Because if you're not so good at something, then it's still a vocation. It's still a vocation. Still a vocation, right? It becomes a profession when you're good at it and you can be paid for it. I'll need you to indicate that you've completed these 4 subsections: passion, mission, professional, and vocation. Now, like I said, for example, some people will not have something that falls into their vocation box. That is just fine. But you've gone through the exercise. So you've gone through the first outer circle. You've gone through the inner intersections, first layer of inner intersections. You've gone through those. I'd like you to indicate as we wrap up. We have just a few minutes to go. Thank you so much, everybody who's commented. I will just wait for a few more people to comment, and then we'll move into the bullseye of the model. Thank you, Cletus. Thank you, Aliyu. I'm waiting for Comfort. I'm waiting for Udo. I'm waiting for Harry. I'm waiting for Umar, Isaiah. Please indicate. Chidima. Is there anybody who isn't done, who wants us to give them a bit of time? Please indicate. Okay, everybody seems to be done. Fantastic. So now we have come to our Ikigai. Look at your passion, mission, profession, and vocation tabs or sheets of paper, however you address them. Is there anything that is a passion for you? It's a mission, it's a vocation, and it's a profession. If there is, create one final sheet of paper or column, title it Ikigai, and put it in there. Anything. And I'd like somebody to volunteer to share what landed in their Ikigai with us. Anybody? What's landed in your Ikigai? It showed up in your passion, it showed up in your mission, it showed up in your profession, and it's shown up in your vocation, or at least 3 out of the 4. I'd like somebody to indicate and share with us. So please unmute yourself. Fantastic, Cletus, I can see that. Writing, speaking, and mentoring. Fantastic. Anybody who wants to share? Anybody who wants to come on video? Okay, because we're right on the hour of this conversation, and we have this about 5. Okay, Cletus, please go ahead. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Okay, good evening. I guess you can all hear me. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, to answer your question, just like I've dropped in the chat box, what showed up in my passion, mission, vocation, and profession are those 3 things: speaking, writing, mentoring, and if I may add, teaching. And that is what I've put down in the 5th column, which is the Ikigai column.
Fantastic, fantastic. I can see Harry's as well. I can see Ali as well. Now I'd like to leave you with a task. When you arrive at your Ikigai model, that's not the end of the process. But this is not something that I'm going to do with you on the call today. It's not the end of the process. It is an opportunity to just dissect yourself at the very beginning and understand who you are again. You know, show yourself to yourself again. You know, remind yourself of the things that drive you. Remind yourself of your passions. Remind yourself of your missions. Remind yourself of your profession, of who you are, right? I find people go through the Ikigai model and they remember something about themselves that they have forgotten because they haven't done it in 10 years, okay? One thing that you must all know is that not everything in your Ikigai model has to fit into the center of the circle, okay? Certain people have missions or passions that, as far as the world goes today, they cannot be paid for. The idea is not that because it did not fit into that middle of the circle, it's a useless thing and you should drop it. That's not the idea. The idea is that you should situate your life properly and understand the place of everything that you do with yourself, okay? If something fits into your Ikigai, fantastic, because what it means is that you can make a livelihood from that thing and you can find joy, deep joy and fulfillment as well from that thing. But you have to always be honest and critical with yourself. If your Ikigai model doesn't show you that you need to grow in one way or another, then you haven't done a good Ikigai model. And what do I mean? We all have passions and things that interest us, okay? That we want to be our Ikigai. But as of today, they are not our Ikigai. What do I mean? I love writing, okay? Writing doesn't pay my bills. So as of today, writing is still in my passion column. The kind of writing that I love doing today doesn't pay my bills. The writing that pays my bills is the writing I do as a marketing communications professional when I'm doing brand building work. The writing I do that is writing about influence and shaping people and helping people to unleash who they are, right? Unleash their potentials, come into who they're supposed to be in destiny. That writing does not pay my bills. It would be foolhardy for me to then take that writing and put it in the center of my Ikigai when I know fully well that I am not being paid for it and it cannot guarantee my financial security and safety. So we must be that's why I say be vulnerable when you do your Ikigai model. Don't put your wish list, I hope that this thing I love is what is going to pay me all the money I need in the world. So I'm going to force it into my Ikigai model. Don't do that. Don't do that. Put it where it belongs as of today, and then make a plan to convert it from where it is to where it can be. I don't know if that makes sense. Meaning that something can be a passion for you today, but you can tell yourself, you can do some research, and when you do your research, you see that even though this thing is a passion for me today because I'm good at it and I love it, I have not yet been able to create a pathway to making an income from it. But I can take these certifications. I can do this, that gets me to a point where this thing in 5 years' time, in 3 years' time, can become something that I am being paid for. Which is why if you remember I said earlier in the conversation, that the Ikigai model is a tool of growth. It's something that after you've built it, you now come back and now say, okay, this passion can become part of my Ikigai. It can become more than just a passion. It can become a profession. It can be part of my mission. It can be this at the center of who I am. But it's not there today. So what do I need to do? I hope we understand this, right? This mission, today, it is just a mission. I do not see how it can be something that I can be paid for, but it will keep being my mission because it gives me a satisfaction in life that is more than money. Now you don't understand that you are a multi-dimensional being and that you're not built to do just one thing in life. At the same time, you're not built to only do things that bring you money. But if you know it, if you understand why you do something, nobody can come and tell you why not to do it. But if you do not situate things in your life the way that you should situate them, you allocate your time wrongly. When you are in the season of your life where you should be building wealth, you have to make pragmatic decisions as well. It's not enough to simply play to your passions and your missions. You have to play to your profession. You have to be able to answer the question of, okay, this thing is sitting in my profession today. I don't really love it, right? But guess what? I'm good at it. I'm paid for it. The world needs it. It has ticked 3 of the boxes. If it has ticked the box of I'm good at it, it has ticked the box of I can be paid for it, and the world needs it, meaning that it's sitting in my profession, it's sitting in my vocation, right? It's sitting in my profession, it's sitting in my vocation. I'm good at it. It's probably also sitting somewhere close to my passion. It's just not sitting in passion and mission. Then you got to ask yourself, why don't I love this thing? What is the barrier to loving this thing? If this thing is going to unleash wealth for me, if it's something I'm already good at and the world can pay me for it, why don't I love it? And how do I bring myself to a place where I understand and situate this thing among the things that I love? Seasons of life. Seasons of life. You will meet different types of people in life. Some of them live a life that is driven purely by their professions. It's all about stuff that brings money. You would meet certain people in life who are driven purely by their passions and their missions, okay? It's all about what gives them the most fullness, the most delight, the most joy. It gives them innate joy. It doesn't necessarily give them wealth, right? And you have to ask yourself, am I that person? I don't think that's who God has designed us for. I think we're designed to be able to be multiples, meaning that you can have your Ikigai, which is the thing that you know that in this Ikigai, everything that I am comes into full expression. My passion, my mission, my vocation, my profession comes into full expression. But you can also have fantastic passions, right? And that's where the opportunity to have side hustles, the opportunity to join communities that invest in the things that you're passionate about, the things that you feel mission-minded about. That's where you begin to make those choices. And you then say, okay, 80% of my time is going to be allocated to this. 10% of my time is going to be allocated to this. 5% of my time is going to be allocated to this because I am a being of multiple expressions and I must express myself as that being, as the full being that I have. Young people make the mistake in the world we live in today of running toward their passions, not being willing to interrogate their professions and tell themselves the truth about where they are in life and what they must do to be secure in life. Let me tell you this. Passions and missions are great, right? But you need to be financially secure. So find your balance is what I'm saying. As you design what your growth goals are going to be, find your balance. Ask yourself, and one way to design your growth goals is to ask yourself, okay, people who have these types of strengths that I have, people who have these types of interests that I have, what can they become in this world? What is the best that they can be? If somebody is a great writer, right? Or somebody wants to be successful at writing, what is an example of a great writer? Go and pick up that person's CV. Go and pick up that person's resume and profile. Look at the courses that the person took. Look at the certifications that the person took, right? Okay, I'm a numerical person, right? I'm good with numbers. What are the best careers for people who are numerical? The world today is going crazy about data engineers, data scientists, right? What type of careers do people who are numerical excel in? What type of careers do people who are artistic excel in, right? How do I begin to build capacity for that? That's where your growth plan starts to come up. That's where you begin to see the kind of job titles that when you see a job title, you're like, yes, this is me. I can recognize myself in this job title. This is a job that will bring my innate capabilities to life. You start building a life plan from there. That's where your education plan starts coming from. You start saying, okay, so if this is the CV that I want to have in 5 years' time, what must I study? What jobs must I begin to apply for? What must I spend my time reading? What communities do I begin to join? So your Ikigai model stops being just a static thing. It becomes a work tool that you're building the future of your life with. That is when you have an Ikigai practice. That's where you are now actively involved in the process of creating the picture of the future that you want to see. And that's why your Ikigai model is no longer static. Because guess what? You come up with these growth plans, you're going to take this certification, you're going to write this exam, you're going to get into this job. The moment you achieve it, you come back to your Ikigai model. And then you begin to see what the next level is and what the next level is and what the next, and you're benchmarking, you're going back online, you're looking at, hey, what capacity, what can people with my skill sets do? You're looking at those CVs, you're looking at those role models that you can benchmark yourself against. You're looking at those personalities that you can benchmark yourself against. You're looking at those jobs that you can apply for. And then you're just putting one step in front of the other and you're moving forward. Essentially, the Ikigai model is a life planning tool. It's a model of lifelong learning, right? It's a model of growth, a growth mindset model, right? If you look at your Ikigai model today and it tells you that you have it all and you are in the perfect place and you need not to grow, you need not to stretch, you have not been vulnerable with yourself in building your Ikigai. Ladies and gentlemen, that will be final words from me. If there are any questions or last comments, this will be the time before we end the session. Thank you so much for staying through for the past 1 hour. I hope it's been useful and valuable to you. And thank you, Aliyu and the team, for giving me the opportunity to share with you.
Thank you so much, Ma. I think I have about 6 pages of my writing pad with different things I jotted. And from what you said, I could actually just see myself when you were talking about being a multidisciplinary person. You like so many things you want to do at the same time, but you're just confused. It was just me you were talking about. And we are really, really grateful. We appreciate everything it was you explained. And I am sure everyone here has gained a lot. Hello, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Comfort. Thank you so much. Thank you for the high praise. Thank you so much. Anybody who wants to drop any comments in there, any questions, anything at all before we end the session?
Thank you so much. While that is happening, I just want to know if it would be possible for, I don't know if there'll be people I want to believe in a way or the other, there are going to be participants who would like to reach out to you, on a personal ground, on a personal note. I don't know if it's going to be okay for them.
Dropping my email address again.
Okay, Ma.
I've just dropped my email address again. Feel free to send me an email. Feel free to reach out. I always respond. Umar, thank you. I see your comment. DOE, thank you. Thank you, everyone. If there are no questions or comments, Comfort, would this be a good time to end the call then?
Yes, I'm trying to go through the chat box if there's any question, but I cannot find. Okay, someone is asking that, sorry, Ma.
Yes, I can see Ali's question.
Yes, all right.
How can I use Ikigai to minimize becoming a jack of all trades? I think the critical question to ask when you outline your Ikigai model is, where am I in life? Where am I in life? And what's important at this stage of my life? I think if you just understand that question, it helps you to be less everywhere and more centered. That's a critical question we always have to ask. If something were to happen to me today, health-wise, have I built the financial security to be able to take care of myself, right? It's always a critical question. Where am I in life? What stage am I in life? Because guess what? Every expression of you and everything that you want to become will become, but you have to prioritize. So that's the first question to ask when you develop an Ikigai model. Where am I in life? Where am I in life? And the moment you answer that question, I think the next thing to then ask yourself is, what am I good at? Or what can I become so exceptionally good at that gives me the security I need to thrive in life? I think if you can decide what that thing, that one or two things are, then you can focus on those things.
Yes, I'm good
Right?
at emotional
You can
intelligence.
focus on those things and just say, you know what? This is my high. You have to, your Ikigai model is showing you the highest self that you can become. There are always multiple things that we want to do, but you got to ask yourself, is this the highest self that I can become? What is the one thing that I want to chase and become one of the 10 best people in the world at this thing? That's really it. So where am I in life? And what could make me rise up to the highest, best of myself? And the moment you do that, I think the answer will come to you. Answer will come to you. Because the moment you do that, the moment you answer that question, the moment you look at yourself clearly, and you do that exercise of looking for role models that reflect who you are, job titles that reflect the biggest ambitions of your life, then you have that clarity of what you should be doing with your time. Because if the highest picture of yourself that you show yourself is somebody who has 2 PhDs, then you know that every other thing you are doing, you're just dancing around. You need to go and get those PhDs done so that you can rise to your highest self. And let me tell you, a lot of us have multiple gifts. The critical thing is knowing which one, right, to harness and to put your back behind. And which, I'm not saying downplay other things, just understanding what is high ranking, what's the thing to rank the highest. It's very, very important. Because a lot of times, if you stretch yourself in multiple directions, you don't have critical mass. And at these early stages, you want to build critical mass. So always, always show yourself your role models. Always show yourself role models. You don't have to be talking to your role model. Just go and download their CV from LinkedIn. Download their CV from LinkedIn. And then tell yourself, this is the CV I'm building. This is the resume I'm building. This is the profile I'm building. And stay on track of it. Pay the price of it. Every time you pay the price for what you want, doors open. That's been my personal experience. And it's a principle of life. Any other last words, comments before we go? Okay, I'll head out now. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you so much, Ma. We're really, really grateful. Thank you so much for your time. I trust that you're going to get emails. You'll definitely get mails from me. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone for joining in. Thank you for your time. And I believe that it was indeed an insightful session.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Thank you, Ma. Bye, Ma. Okay, so thank you once again for joining. I've said that 101 times. Our next class will be coming up next month. And if there'll be changes, if we're going to have another class before this month runs out, we're going to let us know. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Thank you so much. So I was saying that if we're going to have another class before the month runs out, we're going to let you know in the WhatsApp group. So thank you everyone for joining. And I hope that you're going to make use of what you have gotten today if you've not really discovered your Ikigai. And I want to assure us that we're going to get the recording. We're going to get the recording to this session, and you can go all over again to listen at your own convenience. And just in case there were things you didn't get to jot down, when you do this, when you go through the recording at your own convenient time, you'll be able to get them, all sorted out. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Please do have a wonderful evening. Until next month or until our next class, it's bye. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.